And there is no resolution in sight for the Walt Disney Company when it comes to Snow White 2025 at the box office. This is exactly why Bob Iger, the Disney CEO, is in pure panic mode over not just the Rachel Ziggler backlash, but the entire backlash surrounding this movie in general.
That the producers, far left-wing activists in Hollywood, are turning on her, and Disney has canceled all of Rachel Ziegler's appearances on their media platforms. Kind of tough.
Hang on. According to someone close to the situation, a private video has leaked, supposedly showing Rachel Ziegler and Bob Iger looking surprisingly close. And they are saying this footage may have lit the fuse for a new Snow White script launch. Actually, the producers, who are far left-wing activists in Hollywood, are turning away from her. And insiders claim Disney has canceled every one of Rachel Ziegler's scheduled appearances on the studio's platforms. And there seems to be no real fix in sight for the Walt Disney Company regarding Snow White 2025 at the box office. Evidence is starting to point to Bob Iger, the Disney CEO, being in pure panic mode not only about the Rachel Ziegler backlash, but also about the entire negative buzz orbiting this film overall.
And just how once trusted critics that shilled for the Disney Company all the time, even they are beginning to turn their back against them. That's how bad this movie truly is. Even if you look at the IMDb rating score, that's when you really know how terrible this movie is and how it really hit rock bottom.
After months of uproar, industry troubles, and constant fan outrage, Disney has apparently confirmed it will produce yet another reboot of Snow White. The word is that this announcement follows the heavily criticized Take, featuring Rachel Zgler, a project many now view as one of the studio's most catastrophic flubs in years. Speaking at what's described as a private media function, sources familiar with Disney's thinking framed this fresh remake as a corrective move. They are saying that even the critics who once supported Disney faithfully have started backing off. That's how dismal this movie's standing seems. Actually, if you check various rating aggregates, people say it's painfully obvious how low the movie fell and how it truly bottomed out.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
And people are implying they want to honor the timeless storytelling approach again, aiming to renew fan confidence while patching up the tense link between the studio and its longtime supporters. The Rachel Ziegler version was originally pitched as a contemporary feminist spin on the 1937 classic, attracting interest right away for its daring departure from the source material. And insiders say there was a big emphasis on her relationship with someone who basically followed her around in an odd manner. They're claiming they didn't keep that in this incarnation. While the studio may have believed it was heading down a forward-thinking route, the fans apparently felt differently. Actually, social media lit up after Ziegler's remarks, interpreted as brushing off the original film's heritage. Remarks that labeled the prince unimportant and the romance awkward.
After one hell of a PR tour, Disney's live-action Snow White is finally, I know, you were wondering.
And that quickly turned into a viral talking point, setting off broader debates and ultimately generating backlash. After an enormous PR campaign, Disney's live-action Snow White is at last something people can see. Internally, Disney sources said leadership was caught off guard by the negativity. Early trial screenings gave so-so feedback. But the tidal wave of disapproval didn't land until after the official trailer was released, when longtime fans, nostalgic viewers, and movie watchers banded together to criticize the sweeping changes. They are saying that despite her flaws, cracks, and breaks, and there are reportedly many, Rachel Ziegler still has an acting talent. But some observers claim her attitude is off the charts.
That despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them,
she's a good actress.
That at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
Wow.
Actually, the uproar wasn't just loud, it wouldn't quit. Hashtag slamming the film's direction trended for a long stretch, and Disney's PR people allegedly scrambled to reduce the damage. So in an effort to detach from all of that, the studio has confirmed a new Snow White production scheduled to begin shooting in late 2025. And folks out there, especially parents, are questioning Disney, saying, "What are you doing? We thought this was supposed to be a magical space." They implied the company is focusing on messaging that pushes an agenda, and they're suggesting Rachel Ziegler has become a figurehead for the Democratic Party.
And you have parents looking at Disney being like, what are you doing, guys? Like, this is supposed to be a place where magic happens, and all you're doing is indoctrinating kids, and you're having this person be the poster child of the Democratic Party.
While nobody has been officially announced for the cast, Disney stressed that the fresh film would embrace the emotional essence and visual style of the original animated treasure. That includes bringing back favorite characters, sing-along segments, and that fairy tale atmosphere critics argue the prior installment lacked entirely. The decision to roll out a whole new adaptation so soon underlines just how high and urgent the stakes are for Disney. Observers claim this is part of a so-called woke DEI feminist push at the company, and the organization faces rising pressure to defend its recent swarm of live-action remakes, many of which have seen lukewarm reviews and questionable profits. With Snow White's brand in danger of permanent damage, leadership thinks that a properly handled redo can salvage the film's reputation and reconnect with viewers who cherished it.
Tell me if this is attractive to you. Like, does this, imagine you invested into her being the face of the movie, and she's the main character and she's trying to promote the movie. Would this make you want to go watch the movie when she's starring in it and she's the main character?
Interestingly, those in the know say this new effort will feature a more faithful plot in line with the 1937 storyline while adding small updates. Does that sound appealing to everyone? One insider jokingly questioned, also asking if investing in a star who promotes the movie like that would make audiences eager to see it. They imply these adjustments will be cautious, not radical. And a certain producer allegedly suggested the intention isn't to fix something that wasn't really broken, but to reintroduce everlasting themes with a gentle modern sheen. This vibe, they're saying, veers sharply away from the previous take, which critics felt was too determined to tear down the original's underpinnings. Casting rumors are already out there, although Disney won't confirm any details.
Look no further than what Disney is doing with their woke DEI feminist agenda.
The producers, far left-wing activists in Hollywood, are turning on her, and Disney has canceled all of Rachel Ziegler's appearances on their media platforms. Kind of tough. She destroyed hundreds of millions of dollars worth of IP for Disney, but she also has destroyed her career and the careers of anybody who worked on the movie.
They are saying Rachel Ziegler damaged Disney's IP to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars, and some believe she may have wrecked her own future, plus the futures of fellow collaborators on that film. Unnamed individuals connected to the new production say the studio is chasing a leading lady who captures a golden age Hollywood glow, emphasizing warmth, approachability, and strong singing chops. And unlike the last adaptation, where personal remarks Offset took center stage, it's reported that this production will have heightened media training to keep the public story steady. They are saying that the left-wing activism in Hollywood has distanced itself from her, and Disney has supposedly ended all appearances Rachel Ziegler was set to do on their channels.
You could look at the fact that she has been sabotaging this film for years at this point, all in this sort of pursuit of entitlement. We'll still offend the dwarves, but we'll CGI dwarves. So we'll guarantee no employment for little people while getting rid of this other component that warranted CGI. It was the worst decision they could possibly make.
Actually, the renewed stress on strong, unified storytelling arises after lessons learned the hard way. Leaked documentation from earlier this year indicated internal disputes among Disney's marketing, creative, and PR teams in the run-up to the Zegler film, and that created confused messaging and an ad campaign that sometimes contradicted itself. We'll still upset the dwarves, but we'll do CGI dwarfs so we won't employ short-stature performers, while ditching the piece that made CGI required, some critics said, calling it Disney's most misguided choice. So the fresh Snow White reboot is being managed under closer inspection, presumably to avoid repeating those mistakes.
It's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about
she's gonna die.
true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
It's about more than just the film's legacy, though. Merchandise tied to the earlier Snow White version apparently sold poorly. Major chains slashed toy and clothing prices not long after they appeared on shelves. Actually, people are also pointing to how Rachel Ziegler allegedly undermined this project for years in a pursuit some labeled entitlement, and documents from Disney's products division hint there were millions of leftover items in stock. The financial blow was sizable, and analysts argue Disney can't take another blowout tied to such a historically central property. So in response, Disney brought in a new creative team to handle the reboot. They implied that every tweak to the story only made it worse.
To everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them,
And the rumored screenwriter is known for weaving sentiment with robust character arcs. The director, according to some, has done both animated and live-action hits that appeal to an international crowd. Apparently, Disney hopes they'll infuse emotion, heart, and universal pull in this new version. And they mentioned that it's not 1937 anymore, so they wrote a Snow White who isn't rescued by a prince. She's not just longing for true love, they say, but aiming to become the leader she believes she can be. Even though the storyline is expected to largely parallel the original, some changes are inevitable. They claim the adored woodland creatures from the original movie will be back, boosted by a mix of practical effects and CGI, and the dwarfs will be reworked carefully to dodge the upset sparked by leaving them out or redesigning them in the last run. Music will still be front and center, mixing new pieces with old hits like Someday, My Prince Will Come, and Hi-Ho.
Disney responded by scaling back the premiere. I don't know that anyone really showed up to the premiere. The Rotten Tomatoes reviews are looking pretty bad, and they did, it seems like they tried to tweak a few things, but this movie is bad.
And for anyone who doesn't like seeing her succeed, they're drawing a parallel. The winged victory statue arrived at the Louvre in fragments, but people still line up, suggesting that sometimes flawed art remains compelling. They're saying she hopes the same eventually applies to her, no matter her breaks and cracks. Perhaps the most noteworthy shift is that Disney will incorporate longtime animators and advisors who were crucial in shaping earlier princess films, many of them deeply involved in the iconic look and storytelling vibe of the Renaissance-era titles, are being tapped to provide counsel on pacing, tone, and emotional flow. Management at Disney apparently believes that reconnecting with the studio's classic creative DNA is essential to mend trust. The initial statement for the reboot had a humbled spirit, acknowledging past errors but avoiding direct blame. They cut back the premiere in response. Some onlookers claim turnout was minimal, and the Rotten Tomatoes ratings, they say, are rough. Even if it looks like the studio tried to adjust some aspects, still not enough for a better product. We recognize how vital it is to respect the tales that built Disney into what it is, the press note declared. This new Snow White chapter stands on that admiration and our promise to share timeless stories for the modern audience. Though carefully phrased, the meaning was obvious. Disney knows it must tread lightly. Rachel Zgler, for her part, has mostly stayed quiet since news of the reboot. She was once celebrated for her standout appearance in West Side Story, but then got stuck in a huge online controversy when the uproar around the remake took off. Her public commentary, aimed at empowerment, came across to many as out of touch or insulting. Ziegler later insisted her comments were misread, but the storm was already raging. She's apparently not in the new production, though there's no formal word. Some say Disney wants a new start, both in front of and behind the camera. Whether Ziegler speaks up is unclear, but as of now, she seems to be keeping her distance. It also underscores Disney's preference for the film itself to be the focal point, not individual personalities. But fans online appear guardedly upbeat. This new announcement has lit conversations about second chances, tradition, and what returning to something as revered as Snow White really entails. Some remain skeptical, yet others are jazzed at the idea of a reset. "I just want the real enchantment again," said one commenter. "Give me the songs, the classic romance, the old-school forest, and I'll show up opening day if they pull it off right." Disney hopes that vibe will translate to support and big box office turnout. Actually, the film is on track to begin pre-production by late 2025, aiming for a theatrical debut in spring 2027. Marketing will reportedly come with a long build-up, teaser art, a peek at the soundtrack, and behind-the-scenes looks to get everyone talking. The studio is said to be in negotiations with Disney parks to reinstate Snow White elements in certain attractions before the film's release. It's too soon to know if this approach will triumph, where the previous one didn't. But it's crystal clear that Disney is determined not to let one botched attempt destroy Snow White. This isn't just another retelling, it's a strategic effort to restore the studio's once unshakable status as the fairy tale kingpin. According to an expert familiar with the situation, if the new rendition finds the right balance, it may remind people why Snow White launched this entire legacy in the first place. As production gets moving, executives are reportedly laser-focused on consistency, unity, and emotional weight. They're said to be scrutinizing details like costumes and casting, plus lighting and music, to make sure all aligns with Disney's traditions and modern creative aims. They seem to know that corporate polish can't replace true storytelling enchantment, and for Snow White to succeed, it must feel like a homecoming. And even the harshest, observers concede that if there's one film able to revive Disney's battered reputation, it could be this. The stakes are massive, monetarily, but also as a symbol. Transforming Snow White yet again isn't just about filmmaking, it's a test of whether the studio can evolve, pay attention, and adapt to audience expectations. And the question is no longer if Disney can do another version, but whether it can regain the confidence of fans who are still holding out for the fairest one of all. So if you're wondering how this will all play out, feel free to share your thoughts, spread the word, and subscribe to stay in the loop. Let me just tell you, they're all watching to see if Disney can bring the magic back, and whether that leaked video will remain the turning point in this ongoing Snow White saga.